Hannibal.
Hannibal 090. Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, it says Peace Deke or Pete's Mosin Deke. With all the Malik buzz, do you have concerns with the 6 foot quarterback? I do think he's technically 6'1" on the
Yeah.
measurables.
Yeah. He measured
At
in at
least what they have
6'1".
listed. He
Yeah.
might be 6 foot though.
Yeah.
Does Ben have me spoiled in thinking we need a tall quarterback? That's an interesting comment.
Well, I know for me, I prefer your traditional taller quarterbacks like your Ben Roethlisbergers, like your Brady's, etc. Just because you don't have to worry about their vision being compromised. They typically can see over the inside of the line of scrimmage, the center and the guards. When you have a tall quarterback, you can't, like, the rush doesn't affect it to the same extent. Whereas versus shorter quarterbacks, you tell them, hey man, you got to make sure you keep your pressure up the three, interior lineman places, because it's going to force that quarterback to have to escape the pocket every time to throw it. And by doing that, you can limit them. You know what I mean? So that's some of the things that I think of. But with a guy like Malik, I mean, he just shows the athletic ability that even though he is a shorter quarterback, he can get enough depth in the pocket. He understands how to climb the pocket. He understands how to maneuver through the pocket as well. And that's why I don't think it's as much of a knock on some of these quarterbacks. When you're talking about a Malik, when you're talking about even a Sam Howell, a Bailey Zappi, guys who aren't necessarily extremely tall quarterbacks, but they just know how to maneuver in the pocket. You can get away with it. But for me, I typically do prefer a more traditional, taller style quarterback as well. But with Malik, though, man, I mean,
I'm on the hype train, dude. I'm on the hype train.
No, like, in all honesty, bro, like, Malik is a really good player. The more I watch him, this is what I'm at right now with him. I think everything we talked about on the other day is true. I think he's a great athlete. I love how he can throw the ball. The toughness is there. The wow, in terms of like off the ball, jump off the screen, playmaking ability. A couple of things that I don't like about him right now. Inconsistent with his footwork. I think that, man, when he drops back, sometimes he has a tendency to drift, and it gets him in trouble, more trouble than he would necessarily need to be in. Now, granted, that offensive line that he was playing with was not the best, because yes, I think he was like sacked like some absurd amount of times and everything like that. So I don't like that part about his footwork and stuff as well. Another thing I don't like, I think that at times he holds the ball too long, but I don't know if it is because he can't see these routes, like he can't see all the way down the field in some of these cases, or if he's just waiting to see a guy get all the way open, if that makes sense. Because there's been some times where you're looking at crossers coming through or some slants, and you're like, well, man, you could have hit that in this first window here, but because you waited, now this rusher is in your face, and now you're pulling it and you're scrambling. You have to do something like crazy heroic. I don't know if that, like I said, if that was just, you see that rusher and that took his mind off of it, or if he just couldn't see this guy getting open. You know what I mean? Those are some of the things that I'm at with him right now, but he is definitely like, the more I watch him, I can definitely understand why people are falling in love with him, and why, even if the Steelers were to take him, I could understand why right now. You know what I mean? Just some of the things that he has already in his wheelhouse, some of the things that have popped up on film with him, is definitely, it makes some sense.
I've seen a film review on him on YouTube, person talking about, you brought up him like waiting to throw the ball.
Yeah.
You think this has anything to do with it too? You talked about him maybe not being able to see them down the field or waiting for them to get open. Is he focused on his first read a little bit too often and not switching off that? Could you see that being the case?
Well, and that's the thing where I said I want to watch more of it to see if that is the case, because that could easily be it. It could be that, hey, man, he's waiting on that first read to come open, even though it's like, hey, man, based on this alignment, that's not going to be there. Go to the next thing. It could be that. Or it could be the other two things that we talked about. I guess I just have to watch more of him to see that, because like I said, there's one thing, like when you start breaking these guys down, it's like you start watching a game. Then it's like, all right, well, he did that in this game. Well, let me see how he reacted in this game. And then from there, it's like, okay, now we can build a little bit of a pattern, a little bit of a report on him. So that's the thing. Like I said, I just got to see it more. But the more I watch him, though, man, I do think that, man, he has a crazy strong arm. And when he actually does go through his like fundamentals of proper footwork, transferring that weight from his back foot to his front foot, driving through his hips and stuff like that, man, he throws a beautiful ball. But he has to do it consistently. And that's the part, like, at times it reminded me of like Dwayne Haskins' footwork in Washington early on, where it's like you can see the arm angles and all the arm talent, but it's like you don't have to throw it like that if you just set your feet. You know what I mean? For him, I don't know if it's because of just how athletic he is, but he does have a tendency to let his feet get a little out of whack.
That athleticism, though, is something that Haskins and Mason don't have, and what he could bring to the Matt Canada offense, and maybe something that could help him get away with that other stuff in his first year if he was given the starting job right off the bat. You know what I mean? Like, we could win games.
Oh, without a doubt you could.
Maybe him not being fundamentally sound as a drop back passer right off the bat. Like, you could evolve into that. But we could get away with, him rushing for 80 yards in a game, doing some RPOs or like honestly breaking down, scrambling for 20 yards.
Well, I was going to say, I could easily see a scenario where he comes in and he's between the versions of Tyler Huntley and Lamar Jackson, whereas he's a better passer, better athlete than Huntley, but not as good of a passer, not as athletic as Lamar, but he's still a guy that you can come in and win with. He's still a guy that would create problems for a defense. He could make you play certain coverages because that part continues to be real. The more and more tape I watch on him, when teams give him man to man, he does not have an issue pulling that ball down and making them pay for it. And for me, that's how you weaponize your athletic ability. That's what your Josh Allens, your Patrick Mahomes have started to do, your Justin Herberts, where, you play certain coverages, they're not even dealing with it. They're like, I'm going to pull this down, and me getting a 20-yard run is just as effective as me throwing a deep out. It's just as effective as me throwing a flag route and stuff like that. So I do like that about him. You can see like the mentality with him, like he understands how to play the position really well. And that's the thing I like. And I do think with a quarterback like Malik, honestly, man, you either have the talent or you don't. He has that part. I think the technique, you can correct that, because I look at Dwayne Haskins and I talk about how he looked in Washington. Then we talk about him in the preseason. I was like, his footwork was cleaned up. I feel like with Coach Sullivan as the QB coach, we can clearly point to one example right here of a guy who had bad footwork and now his footwork looks improved. I'm saying, hey, I'm hanging my head on that. I'm trying to bring him and say, you know what? If I can get Malik with a Sullivan, then, all right, that can clean up that footwork stuff. That cleans up the footwork stuff. Well, now it's just about growth and development, more reps. You know what I mean? Film studies and stuff like that. So I definitely think that this could be something that we should keep an eye on even more, man.
Oh, yeah. I'm buying into the hype. I definitely am. It looks like Tomlin is too. Apparently, he's standing out in the rain to continue watching the quarterbacks go to work, and Malik Willis is out there. So you're right. Something to monitor.